Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the second webinar in our series that we're doing to spread awareness about the Special Technology Zones Authority, the kind of work that we've been doing, and our roadmap for the future. This is our second webinar in which we have two notable experts join us to talk about what it means to build these knowledge ecosystems that we often talk about at the Special Technology Zones Authority. What constitutes as one? What kind of conditions are necessary for us to get there? What kind of entities are responsible for building a knowledge ecosystem? And how can governments provide that institutional support necessary to foster one? We have Zoe Harris joining us from Italy, actually. She is based in Dubai, works with the World Free Zones organization. She's also the founder and CEO of Impact Zones Global in the Middle East, and also a partner and director at EZDA Alliance. And then we have Dr. Joseph Pig joining us, who is the executive president of La Salle Tecnova Barcelona. And he's also the past president of the International Association of Science Parks and Areas of Innovation. He has really been the driving force, and most of his career trajectory has been about promoting knowledge-based economy in order to, and also with this knowledge cities initiative that he has in Barcelona. So we're going to be talking to them about what kind of lessons that they have for us as we start this work in Pakistan. As most of you know, that this has been going on in the region for the past few decades, but we might be a bit late to get there. But I think Pakistan has a really good window of opportunities in front of us, which is something that we'll be talking about our experts. So the opening question for you both is that what exactly are knowledge ecosystems, just for our viewers to understand what kind of conditions are necessary to build one, and the kind of entities that make a knowledge ecosystem. Dr. Joseph, Zoe, whoever wants to do the opening, please feel free.
So, if you want to start, please.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, first of all, dear Varda, and STZA for hosting us here today. It's truly an honor and delight to be on this webinar. Coming back to the question, what are knowledge ecosystems? They are a network of interrelated players, all got to do with knowledge. So this could either be an academic institution, it can be a technical institution, it can be a company, private sector players, government agencies, any educational body, training facilities, and their supply chains. So, and their suppliers, their customers. So an ecosystem is interrelated. A supply chain is linear. It can be upstream or downstream, whereas an ecosystem has various players. So you can see it as a universe revolving around a certain topic or sector. If that answers the question on what is a knowledge ecosystem, and then what conditions need to be met to build an ecosystem. So first of all, you would need to apply the triple helix model, which would involve, first of all, the public sector, so the government, academic institutions, other government agencies, as well as companies, R&D, companies who perform R&D, performing activities which encourage or promote innovation. And on the other hand, we need the academic institution, sorry. So it's the government, the private sector, and the academic institutions, also promoting knowledge and innovation. So those three players are the anchors of a knowledge ecosystem, and then around them, smaller players can join the cluster. And an ecosystem is always built up organically. So once the one player arrives, their ecosystem basically joins. So it's not one player. Also, their suppliers, their partners, a lot of partnerships will also join the ecosystem. So this is needed. So condition is that government, academic institutions, and private sector are on board. And could you kindly remind me of the third question, Varda?
I think Zoe, you have mostly covered it. And
Okay.
another one that and another component that I think I focused on as well is that what is the role of technology in these knowledge ecosystems? Because especially at STZA, we are very keen to focus on research and development and the kind of opportunities that exist for tech entrepreneurs in these knowledge ecosystems. Could you talk more about that in regards to what's happening and how do they drive that development models that you've seen as well?
Yeah, technology. Well, we're entering the fifth industrial revolution in which technology is key. Digitalization is a trend, or you can't even call it a trend anymore. It's a new way of living, and it's the core of our new economic paradigm, technology. So in whatever sector you are working, technology is key. Digitalization is key. So this is the fastest moving sector. That's just the developments are incredible. And whether you're in tourism, agriculture, in hospitality industry, technology is key. Financial institutions. So in terms of research and innovation, if we're looking at building up knowledge there, technology as well plays a key role. So what STZA is doing right now is essential to support the development of science and technology in Pakistan, because as a country, you cannot stay behind. And I think the technological development of a country will determine the overall economic development of a country. So to accelerate or to boost the economy, we need to boost the development of technology, and that comes with innovation and setting up technology zones like what is happening now.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that detailed overview. And I think especially what you mentioned about how a knowledge ecosystem is about the generation of new knowledge. And I think that's a great segue to Dr. Fig as well, because especially with his work in ISD, he has been instrumental in identifying these parcels and of innovation around the world and granting them the membership to this organization as well. Dr. Fig, would you like to go next for answering this question? Dr. Pick, we can't hear you. You're on mute.
I am here again. I am okay, good. And I will share my slide just for sharing and following the ideas that Zoe was explaining, and really good. I don't know if you see my PowerPoint or my presentation. If it's possible now, it's here. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Can you hear? Okay, good. The idea that I would like to share, and following the ideas of Zoe, is that really what we are doing, creating a cluster of innovation, really is developing what we say, activating the three key elements of any ecosystem: talent, technology, and finance. That's the reason why for whatever we are creating in an ecosystem of innovation, we need to be sure that the talent, technology, and finance are ready to transform opportunities in value. As Zoe was explaining, the opportunities could be from the technology push, new artificial intelligence, new big data, new drones, new whatever you can imagine, new technology. This is an opportunity, but if it's not creating value, will not be a new innovation. Opportunities are the source of innovation, but are not the output of innovation. The output is what the talent and technology and finance is promoting, is transforming in reality. It means that we need to create an ecosystem that is first educating people, training people, promoting entrepreneurial people, but also understanding how can we read in an appropriate way the technology in order to transform this technology in value. But also we need to put in the middle of these three elements, the money, the finance in every moment. That's the reason why when we create value, we need to create value not just inviting the people to create big ideas, also to develop and to promote the reality, to deliver a prototype or a manufacturing prototype that is working really. It means this is not just an idea, it's something that you are delivering. But also you can create value in an ecosystem when you are connecting with the market. The market is also part of the innovation. And I love the concept of beta testing. Who is the best customer? Who is the first customer, the first user, the golden reference? That's the reason why I always say that any country, any local authority has the responsibility to allow innovation, because we are the first mile of innovation, learning locally and growing internationally. But also we create value in ecosystems when we combine people from different disciplines, engineers, businessmen or businesswomen, people from sales, people from finance, in order to create value in the team. If we have value in technology, from technology to product and customer, if we have value also in terms of the team, we will have the opportunity to create new disruptive innovation. And perhaps that's the most important idea that I would like to share with you today. This is about how can we create new technology-based startups as a source of innovation, and also how can we connect these new technology-based startups with mature companies that will adopt this innovation buying the startup. This is a big lesson of clusters. This is not just a traditional value chain of Porter. This is also about how can we validate ideas, how can we identify market traction, validate scalability, but after that, to find who will buy this new startup. It means that we need to find different people in different phases, the phase of inception, launching, growing, and maturity, because with that, we will connect the startups solving the challenges of the corporates. That is a very important idea. It means that the corporates are not competing with the startups, are part of the same ecosystem. And the idea is that they open the door of innovation, will connect them with new startups coming from Pakistan, from any place of the world, in order to solve these challenges. With that, what we say is that we will find a new animal in the ecosystem, not only the startups, the companies, the big companies, the investors. Because any investor will invest in the middle if you have exit plans, merger and acquisition, or IPO. That's the moment when we find that makes sense not only to create the startups, is to grow, to create scale-ups, to connect these scale-ups with IPOs or merger and acquisition, and with that, to invite investors to be in the middle. With this ecosystem, what we are doing is to combine the best world of two worlds, the world of the corporates, that they are very good in execution, and the world of startups that they are very good in exploration. The corporates are good in exploitation, the startups are good in looking what's next, searching what's next in terms of business model. One of them are talking about business models, one of them, the companies, corporates are talking about execution and business plan. For that, this is important to look at the innovation is not just internal innovation, it's open innovation. And open innovation means that we need to look for not just local companies, global companies, because we can be the source of innovation of other global companies. And also local companies can take advantage of global deal flow of innovation. I don't want to stress my presentation in concept like the Open Innovation Toolkit, but I would like to share with you how important it is to connect startups with corporations, because they need deal flow of innovation, and also they can create new businesses, buying companies, and also creating companies that are corporate entrepreneurial incubators, companies that incubate startups. Just my last slide is about this about the triple helix that Zoe was explaining, how important is the role of the government creating the tax law and also the regulation, but also universities doing the work of education, talent, and research, technology and technology transfer, and also the companies, in order to combine all of them with the quadruple helix will be the demand side of the market. It means that in every phase we need to work with a different way in the different agents of the triple helix, and we need to work not only the traditional cluster approach in this cluster approach, entrepreneurs connecting with ventures, investors, and corporates. That's all from my presentation now in this first question.
Thank you, Dr. Pick. I think that what you highlighted about the role of startups and the fact that they're based in proximity to corporates and the kind of value that creates for the ecosystem. I think there's already this ongoing conversation in Pakistan with the tech startup ecosystem maturing gradually. So I think that STZs can be a really pivotal factor in that if you're bringing startups in and offering them benefits to be placed next to a corporate. So thank you for highlighting that. We'll be continuing that conversation with you as well. But Zoe and Dr. Pick, I think that especially at STZA, we've been studying these models around the world of some of the high-tech zones from the US, Europe, China, the Middle East, South Asia. And since you have worked all around the world, I think we're also just as interested in hearing about some of the stories of failure and the lessons that those countries have learned, especially from a government standpoint. What are some of the high potential zones or clusters or ecosystems that you've seen had the potential to really rise, but they couldn't because of certain factors that led to their failure? If you could share some of the stories and offer lessons as Pakistan tries to build its own. Zoe?
In terms of failures, to be honest, in terms of ICT parks, technology parks, I do not have any examples because all the examples I know are highly successful. I have not been presented with an example, a worst practice that I could highlight right now. I think what we could rather focus on is what are the successful parks, countries which host successful special economic zones and technology parks, being, for instance, Poland, who have a number of very, very successful special economic zones focusing on technology. They're being awarded every year by the Financial Times as top performance technology parks. There's another technology park in Austria, which is not a special economic zone, but also doing exceptionally well. For instance, we also have Zona America, which is in Latin America, Uruguay, which is a high-tech campus, having dealt with the challenge of being geographically so southernly located in Latin America, but through technology bridging that geographical distance through the use of technology and having a tier 3 data center and making sure that the ICT infrastructure is in place. India has been highly successful with the development of their ICT sectors through the special economic zones. And Bangladesh has been following that model. And now Pakistan is following that model as well. So far, I think science and technology has always been a field in which we've seen incredible growth. In Africa, for instance, right now, many science and technology parks are also being developed. We've recently been involved with a project in Kenya, Konza Technopolis, which is located just outside of Kenya. Also building a smart city with focus on technology. There's a new platform in Africa called Smart Africa, focusing on the digital transformation of Africa. So this is what I can add as good practices or best practices.
Yes. In my case, if may I add some international experience, first, it's not about failing. Failing is not to do bad things. Failing is not to do all the things that you can do. It means, or if you are capture all the value that you can generate. For this reason, I would like first to differentiate the free zones, economic free zones, zones that are only allowing you to be there because, or inviting you to be there because it's low cost taxes or low taxes or no taxes. This is for me a bad strategy. Only low taxes or no taxes. It must be combined with talent and technology. That's the reason why all the science parks that we were developing at ISP, the International Association of Science Park, we were always asking, do you have a university linked with the park as the owner of the park, as a co-stakeholder, or as a supporter of the park? That in any case, we need talent. Because it's about talent and technology. Remember what I was explaining, how important is talent and technology. Talent and technology is productivity, talent and technology is competitiveness of companies, and talent and technology is employability. And this is also one of the things that I would like to stress. This is about science parks and science and special technology zones for economic and social development, and also urban development. We need to be sure that we are developing the land, that's good, with new buildings, with new infrastructures and so on, but also that we develop jobs, opportunities. And in order to develop jobs, it's not just, and let me tell you in a clear way, to develop jobs of gardeners or cleaners. It's to develop jobs of artificial intelligence, to develop jobs or new technology-based companies, or to develop jobs with high value added. For that, we need to be sure that the universities are linked with that. We need to link all the universities as a source of talent, and also professional education and vocational education, in order to be sure that we provide enough talent for attracting companies. But let me go a little more. We see more and more, in the case of Barcelona, you know that I was the CEO of 22A, the District of Innovation. We had a district inside the city of Barcelona. 20 years ago, we had 1,200 hectares in a very bad situation. They were all in textile industry in that moment, and we decided to create a district of innovation. We put 10 universities in the district in order to create, we put more or less 25,000 new students, because we didn't have universities in the district. But nowadays we have more than 90,000 jobs and more than 8,000 companies. What lessons we have of 22A? That talent is not looking for a place for working, also is looking place for living. And we have to provide to the talent a 360 degrees value proposition. This is not just from 9 to 5, from Monday to Friday, or from a weekly, the traditional week work. It's a full proposal. And full proposal means, why not we use the district of innovation, a place not only for working, also for living, mixing. And mixing means we have to provide housing, not only housing for the international professional people that will work, also for young people. We were promoting residence for the students. The young people need place for growing as a person and also as a professional, and also social housing. The reason why I talk about social housing is about inclusion. If we are creating ivory towers, technology parks that are perfect, but no connection with the reality around, we have high tension. That's the reason why, for instance, when we were working with NAD in Karachi, designing the new technology park, we were connecting not only in the economic development, also in the social development. How? Connecting with all the schools around the technology park in order to promote the vocation, in order to connect this new generation of talent with this social elevator. If they can really feel that they will change their professional path, or their lives, the path dependency, with new opportunities with the world. In this way, my message is not about failing, it's about to create high value, not only in terms of economy, also social value, and also not only in terms of big corporations, also new startups connecting both and also mixing both in order to create these clusters of innovation.
Thank you, Dr. Pick. I think that's a wonderful perspective and also a great segue to the next question, which is that something that both of you highlighted is that a knowledge ecosystem is only successful, or however we define success, when those linkages and cooperation networks are set in place, when those cooperation networks are developed between the academia and industry, universities are there, as well as you have corporate startups, and you're able to harness the potential of the knowledge workers that are present over here to really create value in that ecosystem. So how would you say, what are some of the frameworks that you have used in your experiences to really assess and measure the success of the kind of ecosystems that you have been part of around the world? What are just some of the frameworks for measuring the success? Because that's something that we often get in Pakistan, that when you're doing all this work, how are you going to hold yourself accountable to the public? And for that, STZA has identified these 7 metrics, which are based on job creation, R&D, technology transfer, boosting technology exports, developing human capital. But what are some of the ones that you would recommend, or something that you have encountered in your own experiences?
As you wonder,
Dr. Joseph or Zoe, anyone who wants to go.
Well, I think I'm happy to comment on this. I think, Rhoda, you mentioned most of the indicators there. So the metrics or the framework you can use to be able to evaluate finally or measure performance would be in terms of job creation, the level of innovations created. But I think ultimately the one I was missing was the GDP growth. So what are the science and technology parks adding to or contributing to GDP growth? That would be a very strong indicator. And what I also really liked, what Dr. Joseph added was taking into account the linkages with the local community, so the spillover effect, which you would obviously see back in the GDP figures, but looking at the local level, the suppliers, the job growth, the increase of disposable income, the educational level. Maybe you could add metrics linked to that in order to be able to create a cost-benefit model of the park.
Yeah, I agree with Zoe about the indicators. You are checking all the indicators. Perhaps I will differentiate qualitative and quantitative indicators. In terms of quantitative, it's clear. It's a number of jobs. It's a number of companies. It's a number of patents. The 10% of exports, and also the GDP that Zoe was explaining. But perhaps also it's good to select some qualitative indicators. For instance, I am leading the pack of innovation in Porto Alegre. Porto Alegre is a city in the south of Brazil. They had incredible universities and incredible companies and so on, but they were not working together. The decision of the mayor, and they were inviting me to be the mentor of the pack of innovation. What means a pack of innovation? That we agree about the future that we want to build together. This is only one pack of innovation, but is qualitative, is the pack of innovation. What we see together, what sectors we see that we want to be a reference, and how we will build this ecosystem of innovation. This is important because in this case, 79 institutions in Porto Alegre are working together with the same vision, sharing the challenges and also working everyone in the same direction. This is important because sometimes we're missing this kind of qualitative indicators that are, in this case, not just the number, is whoever has to be involved in this strategy, we need to be sure that are involving. This is interesting because in the case of Porto Alegre, I was there 2 weeks ago, and just celebrating we have a governance with the 79 institutions working together in Porto Alegre, validating and evaluating the evolution of the innovation in Porto Alegre, and making the evaluation if they are advancing or not in the projects. Why I'm telling you that? Governance is very important, because governance is about to be sure that we are involving everyone, the schools, the universities, and so on, but also the way of watching us and interacting and watching us in terms of in front of the face to say how we are working together. And sometimes we have government that is leading, but we need governance to involve in a clear way in universities and chambers of commerce and companies working in the same direction. This is the kind of qualitative indicators that perhaps are good in terms of what kind of governance and how many institutions are in this governance, how many clusters, and how we are working these clusters, because with that we'll have the outputs of the quantitative data that we're talking about: companies, jobs, and also sales of the companies.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. I think that's a great point, that how we often tend to focus on quantitative measures and identify those KPIs, but often forget the more qualitative aspect. So I think that was a wonderful point. And then I think our viewers also want to hear more about how can governments really support and offer that support necessary for establishing and reinforcing the kind of interactions that are necessary in our knowledge ecosystem. So if you could focus more on the government side about what is the institutional role that we can play to reinforce those interactions in an ecosystem.
Yeah. So if you want, you can start. If not, I can start in this case just for mixing the contribution.
Okay, let's switch it around. You may start this round, and I'll add to.
Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. Let me talk that we talk a lot about public-private partnership. A lot. We need to work public, but we need public partnership, and this is funny because it looks like that public is all the same. No, it's not the same. Local government, regional or state government, or federal or national government. If we don't agree how we will mix our activities in different levels, sometimes we are missing capabilities. For instance, the local government is good in terms of landing planning, or how the urban planning, the uses of the land. That they have the land, they are the owners of the land, they can really regulate what we can do with the land. This is really important. In some taxes, some local taxes. The regional government, usually, it depends on the country, but usually they have some responsibilities in terms of economic development. They can really work in a direct way, making some push in some specialization. The regional strategy, or or what we say in Europe, the smart specialization. What sectors we will work. And this is important because we need to push what sectors we want. It's agribusiness, is fintech, is cybersecurity, whatever. But also the national government. Usually they have the big taxes, the taxes not only in terms of personal taxes. This is very important in how they recognize investors that they want to invest in order to reduce the taxes or whatever, or also for personal taxes that usually it's important if you want to attract some kind of people that they want to join or they want to come back from Silicon Valley. For instance, you in Pakistan, you have a lot of alumni around the world. When I was working with NAD, we were surprising how many alumni you have around the world. You have chapters, alumni chapters in Silicon Valley, in Boston, whatever. If you want to attract and invite them to return to your country, you need to be more interesting in terms, not only in terms of for landing. They love their country, for sure they want to come, but the taxes is also a part. It means my understanding is everyone has to work in an appropriate way, creating and understanding that everyone works in a different layer of this ecosystem. Zoe, if you want to add.
Yes, I'm happy to add. Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Yes, I fully agree with what you just mentioned, and the public partnership. The first word that came to mind, Varda, after you asked your question was partnerships. Yes, this is much needed, and this is what we see in our work on a day-to-day basis. Is basically all the knowledge and the tools are there, the instruments are there also to update policy, to make the changes which are needed. The issue is often the collaboration or the partnerships, communication. So streamlining the whole process, making sure that all the information is accessible to everyone and known to everyone, and parties are working together. So this is much needed. And what could be created are special task forces within the government system, tying all these departments together with a clear objective to attracting and keeping talent in Pakistan, with view to building a knowledge and an innovation base in Pakistan. So this is what I think would be a solution, working very closely with the zone and also with the Investment Promotion Agency, because on the one hand, we want to grow the local knowledge and technology base, but we also want to attract foreign talent as well and have the spillover and the knowledge and the technology transfer from foreigners. So how can we also optimize bringing the two together, both the local as well as the foreign element there?
Both of you have mentioned how critical it is to attract the top talent to the special technology zones that we envision to develop across Pakistan. But there's also the counter narrative or just another perspective that we've been hearing, that in today's world, it doesn't matter where you are based, because you could still be providing a lot of value to any ecosystem that you're part of. What would you say that in terms of location, is there added value in being physically based in an ecosystem, or you can still continue to add value regardless of where you're based?
Yeah,
based on your own experience.
This is very interesting question, and more now that we had the COVID times and we were living and working in the cloud. And yes, we were really living in the cloud, and now it seems that we're coming back to our new reality. But from my point of view, in terms of location, and Zoe, if I may, I will start, after that you will start, is that I understand that it's important to understand what is the role of the place in ecosystem. And the role of the place start in some cases first for the important thing of where is the people living. It means talent needs a place for sleeping and eating and enjoying and interacting with the reality. This is it's not a joke. If you are providing a good place for living, you can attract talent, and that is important. But also, you need to create culture and the cultural activities. In terms of the cultural behavior, what is the culture of your company is very difficult to create if you are not interacting. It means what you can do in a digital meeting that is very practical, very effective, but you are losing the coffee, you are losing the complicity, you are losing, what about your family? You are losing, how are you? What's your dream? You are losing out of the box activities. And this is the source of innovation. The source of innovation is when you are not just thinking in a linear base, when you are interacting. That's the reason why it will be very important to have buildings that will be doing not just for working alone, for working together, for interacting, for creating networks, for listening others, and also for do formal and informal activities that will create the role of the parent. We saw this in Barcelona, how in these COVID times, we had a lot of people working in the cloud, but we see more and more that some workers are missing the connection with the day by day of the company. And more than that, young people that were joining during the pandemic, during COVID times, they are not connected with senior people. There is not a transfer of culture in terms of the interaction of the ecosystem. My understanding that we will come back to the presentiality. We will mix what we say the hybrid realities. Every single physical meeting will have a digital meeting, but we will need always also the opportunity to interact with our community, interact in a non-formal way. For instance, in my university, La Salle, we have a park, we have the lunchtime. It's the opportunity to cross people that perhaps you are not crossing in the day by day, to cross students, investors, startups, all the ecosystem. And this is something that we don't need to lose, because it is a source of innovation, not for doing what we are doing until now, for doing new things.
I fully agree with you, Dr. Joseph. There, it's. I think right now, with what we've seen through the pandemic, is that we can all work in the cloud. We do not need a physical place to work. However, it's not the optimum situation, and I think ultimately we are human beings. We are sentient beings, and we thrive on interaction with other human beings. So we are not programmed in a linear way like technology. We are intuitive, and we need to be creative and also have that engagement. And what came to mind is, like, in Silicon Valley, they've seen that already a long time ago. So where technology and innovation was actually born and grown. There you've seen the emergence of campuses like Google and Apple, and companies creating workspaces, which actually provide for the whole human. So they have places where you can relax, places where you can make music, where you can do sports, yoga, meditation. Even your physician will come on site. They've got beautiful gardens. So there's like focus areas, but also areas for engagement, and you can move around. You don't have to sit in one place and work there the whole time. So, and what we are also seeing besides that is also the emergence of smart cities. More and more within the special economic zone space, we're getting requests for zone models built around the smart city concept. So also mixed use with residential as well as commercial use. So this is the way the future is going. So in terms of having a workspace, yes, we're seeing more and more co-workspaces, so more flexibility there. But on the other hand, there should be a designated spot where people work and want to live and want to be, which also contributes to their well-being. I think human beings also want to have a certain groundedness, like we used to live in tribes and have our territorium, and at the same time have the flexibility to be able to work within a hybrid situation. So we can have the combination of being physically present and also building a community and a culture, but on the other hand, also have the flexibility of working remotely, whether it's from home or from anywhere in the world if we are traveling.
Thank you. Honestly, on a personal level, it's refreshing to hear that perspective, because the second year of living in a pandemic has really reinforced that the future can't be fully virtual. It has to be more hybrid. As human beings, we need to socialize, collaborate, and physically be in close proximity to have that creative spark enabled often as well. But before I conclude and move to the final remarks, I think you brought up the concept of smart cities, and I know that Dr. Joseph has done some really interesting work in that department as well. So if you could clarify for our viewers as well, that what exactly is a smart city, and how does that differ or relate to the concept of a knowledge ecosystem?
Yeah. If you want, I can explain as you want. But in
Yes.
the smart city, first, we have a digital tools, a lot of tools that can transform the urban dimension, the economical dimension, and the social dimension. The smart city is something that we are applying the technology for managing better the city, water, energy, mobility, waste, all these services and infrastructures that we have in the city, mobility, and also the interaction of the city with the city. We need to be sure that we're managing in an appropriate way. It means technology for managing in an effective way our services in the city. But in the second level, the smart city is also the opportunity for economic development. We were talking about technology that can apply new models, business models, new companies, and so on. This is also part of the digital economy, and digital economy means that we can really create people working the ecosystems of innovation. Some of them could be digital, other could be biotechnology, and other could be materials. But if we talk about digital, we have a lot of companies, software companies, or companies that are developing applications or digital animation or video games that they can really work in a digital way. This is a new way of doing the city, because the city, you don't need a factory in the city. You can have an office or a science park that can really be the center of this ecosystem, and the smart city is providing the infrastructures, connectivity, and so on for developing the economy. The third level is society, and society means how can we transform our cities in smart cities? It's also because we transform our citizens in smart citizens. If we have educated the people, if they don't have capabilities of digital tools, they don't have digital tools and they don't know how to use, this is like that we have a separate citizens, the digital citizens and the analogic citizens. We need to be sure that we have to include all the digital, all the people, and this is what we talk about, all the social services. It could be health, it could be education, it could be security, and so on. It means a smart city is not just the infrastructures. It was starting at the beginning, infrastructure, but it's economic development and also social development. And sometimes we talk about digital government. It's how the government is in relation with the citizens, not just also for paying taxes digitally, that is also good. It's also for the democracy. For instance, in Barcelona, we have a platform, the name is Decidim, we decide, where we have technology platforms for co-creating with the citizens decisions about laws, about regulations, about how will be the new garden in the district. This is something that is very important, the concept of digital governance. With all of that, we have a smart city model that it's an opportunity that could be or not a technology park. You can have a digital city with no high technology, but I feel that it's a wonderful opportunity. I know that regions like Sialkot or also Gujarat in Pakistan, also Karachi and all are thinking how to transform the cities and the smart cities. And this is an opportunity not only to transform the city as a platform, also the city as an economy and society.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Please, Zoe.
I fully agree. The smart cities on all the levels. So it started with the infrastructure, but now it's the overall economic development, the social development, digitalization of government, and the concept will become broader and broader, and ultimately we will only see smart cities because this is the way that the world is going. So everything will become smart. But right now, especially thinking in terms of technology parks and special economic zones, these are perfect test grounds or starting points to develop these kind of concepts, from a starting point, from inception, to get it right, to build further from there, and then to expand the concept to the mainland or to the broader area.
So I agree with you about how important is the science and technology part, or special technology zones, as the first users, as a beta testers, as a living labs, as a places that the city is learning or the government is learning, and after that you scale locally or internationally. That is very, very important. How the technology parks are the first in class, are the institutions or the ecosystems that are creating new things, and after that is scaling to the rest of the country or internationally.
No, I think I really like that perspective of seeing the STZs as a learning lab that you can eventually scale on a local, national, and regional level. I think that's something that we're going to be definitely taking away. And just to conclude, Dr. Joseph and Zoe, you both offered us some incredible insights. What are some of the thoughts that you want to share with the government of Pakistan, specifically the Special Technology Zones Authority, as we really strive to build these STVs for the scientific and technological development of the country? Just some thoughts that you might have.
Yeah, Zoe,
to share with the team.
Now you.
Okay. First of all, I would say be bold. Be confident enough to just charge forward fearlessly, knowing that you have everything that is needed to make it a success. This is what we often see is like, especially if a country is new at launching zones, there might be some hesitation in like thinking there might be a long road to still walk, while as I think things can move incredibly fast in your case, especially if you're starting from a clean slate, from zero. And there's a lot of interest already. So what I would say is focus on investor attraction. Ultimately, that is the ultimate goal, is attracting companies into the zones, local companies as well as international companies. What I'd also say is don't only focus on the large multinational companies, the Fortune 500 companies, but also focus on SMEs and also nurture your own SMEs, so the local SMEs in Pakistan, because the more healthy SMEs you have in your park, it's going to get easier to attract the bigger players on a global perspective. This is a fact often overlooked.
Yeah. If I may add in this idea, let me put an example, because if we believe that the Special Technology Zones Authority can have the responsibility, let me tell you, responsibility, to be sure that you create the special zones for growing, the place that you can grow in a very fast way. And why growing? Because the scale-ups, the new technology-based companies, are the companies that will create more jobs for sure. Yesterday I was visiting a company in Barcelona. The name is Wallbox. They were 4 or 5 years ago, it was a person that was working in Tesla. After that, they decided to create a charger for electric cars. This last year, they had 300 jobs. In 2025, they will have 3,000 jobs. They multiply for 10 the number of jobs. But more than that, they have now, the company is, the value is more than $1 billion. This is the kind of companies that I believe that you can create, thinking about creating jobs. For that, the more important asset of Pakistan, believe me, is talent. Talent. You have incredible universities, NED University, Lahore University. You have different universities with incredible talent. Perhaps you can increase the number of talent, the number of people. That this talent, the challenge is that you have to retain this talent in Pakistan. If you lose this talent, they will go to Silicon Valley and they will do an incredible work in Silicon Valley, but will not create value in Silicon Valley. From a point of view, STZA, the Special Technology Zone Authority, is the Silicon Valley in Pakistan. You have to create the best ecosystem for replicating the Silicon Valley, your Silicon Valley, not your Silicon Valley in Pakistan. The places where technology-based startups coming from, university students, PhD students, or whatever they want to create, they have the appropriate way to scale and to scale globally, not just in Pakistan. Pakistan is a wonderful country, but you are big, but you need to go to the world, because if not, if you don't go to the world, you will not attract investors for growing. That's my message. This is all about talent. This is all about talent. The government, if the government is, and talent is about education. Education is about university degrees and so on. You have incredible people. Be sure that you are retaining this talent. For that, the retention of talent is going is connected with this science and technology parks, special zones that are creating opportunities for growing and scaling internationally.
I think that's a great way to conclude our webinar as well. From what Zoe mentioned about setting bold goals and to really achieve our targets, and then what Dr. Joseph mentioned about harnessing the potential of the human talent that's already in Pakistan through those universities that are there, and really focusing on offering more specialized trainings to develop their potential as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph and Zoe, for joining us. This was an incredible session, and we were delighted to hear from you. We're also receiving a lot of positive comments from our viewers. Thank you so much for tuning in and giving us your hour.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll be in touch.
Thank
and
you.
Always in the cloud.
Absolutely.
And here in Barcelona. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
very much. Honored and delighted to have taken part in this session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a
Bye.
great day.
Bye. You
Bye-bye.
too.